Yeah. This is something I did personally not expect the German version of this rambling to become or get or be 1 hour long, because I had quite a few topics, but I did not think that I would have had to talk about so much about them. So wow. But actually, no, this is something I don't actually need to talk about in the English version, because on the German version I said to everyone who is thinking about the dislike, do me at least a favor, because I don't really care about the dislikes itself anymore, but what I would like to know from these people, why it is the case. Because I have three theories, but that's the issue. I don't really need to talk about it in the English version, because I get way more dislikes on the German version, like 3 or 4 times, but never an explanation. So my theories are, people just don't want to see the ramblings in general. They want them to be gone, and that I think if they maybe give them a dislike, they will, but they won't. The second theory is they don't like the topics that I cover in a rambling, because the topics are definitely not really tech-centric. They are way more me-centric, channel-centric. Or the topics that I talk about just sometimes upset them, some specific things that I say. Like I said, I can't really judge that, and I would have liked to have an answer, but never got one. But like I said, I don't really have to talk about it. The next thing I also don't really need to talk about, I will just to cover the same topics, to be fair, also. Because I got from Jennifer Zenner, I got a comment on pretty much every German rambling. And I didn't get to reply on that the way I wanted to, because it was very long, and then I deleted the message and I forgot about it. And then I thought, kind of to honor that she every time replies and every time leaves nice feedback, positive, constructive, suggestive feedback, I thought I would read it out and talk about it. So it doesn't make sense to read it out since it's in German and I don't really want to translate it, but there are some 3 or 4 major points. The first one is about the pedantic people. She's upset that those kind of bother me. Not that much of an issue. And I know in my last rambling I actually said I won't answer or reply to comments anymore, because I'm kind of sick of it, of all the negativity and so on. But this held for about 1 day, because the next day already I read all the comments and I replied to the important ones, and I just ignore the ones that I think are spam or silly or disruptive or just toxic. But it's now fine. The next thing he says, that if I would make maybe like tech news videos, what happens in Asia, Germany, and also the US, and share that opinion. But I have to say, this is not something that's gonna happen, because I did that already. Some of you who watch the ramblings for longer, at least 1 year plus, they should know that I tried this for a while, but I also explained why I won't do this anymore, and that's why the ramblings were actually gone for a while before I started to make this whole "it's just about me" rambling series. That I was watching all the news all the time and always thinking about what I should discuss at the end of the week, and I just noticed it was very cumbersome. I always thought about in my head, what should I say and so on, and by the time I made the rambling at the end of the week, I didn't really know what I was or what I wanted to talk about it anyway, so it made no sense, and it was just annoying always to have to think about what I should talk. Is this topic interesting? Is it not? It was just not enjoyable for me, so that's why I ditched that. The next thing that she mentioned was that I should pick up a friend and talk about tech news in a live stream and so on. And I said to her that it's actually something that I'm definitely trying to do, because with 2 German YouTubers I have already some plans to do that, which of course won't help you. And I don't really see though an option to make this also in English, because I don't really know any YouTubers that are as passionate in terms of tech and as kind of consistent as me, with someone that I would connect to, that I could do such a stream. And 2 streams would be maybe even too much, because what we are planning for the German streams, like every second week. But I would definitely also like to do it in an English format, but yeah, I don't really need to get further into that. So that was pretty much the crux of it, and I want to get into my main topics that I wrote down. And actually I want to get into one thing. This is something that most of the German viewers actually told me, because I get more rambling comments there, is that, and I definitely agree, but they say that I think way too much about what I'm doing, the way I'm doing it, what others are thinking of me, and I should stop. I should just ignore that and do what I think I have to do. But the thing is, I also told them in the German stream that, but also some you or international viewers say the same to me, that I should just ignore also the toxic comments and so on. But my answer to that is, the only way for me to be able to ignore something is to just don't care about it, just to not care. But I rather care too much, because for me the thing is, the reason why I make myself so many thoughts, why I think so much about, not really that much actually what others think, but what I should improve and ask, what is this better if I should do this or this and this, and I make way too many thoughts about that. Too many, of course, already says it's too many, but I rather spend too much time on brooding about what I should maybe change about the channel, or is it working well and so on, than too little. Because once I would get to too little, it would mean that I don't care, and if then someone says something negative to me or something constructive and so on, and I simply don't care, I think that would be the downfall of this channel. Because as long as I care, this just shows that I still have the passion, that I still have the motivation, that I still really enjoy doing all of this. And even though I do kind of suffer in some terms too much with all of this and make myself too much hassle thinking about it, I rather do too much, which shows me that I'm still motivated, instead of too little. And the next thing, if you follow me on Twitter, my handle is Nimbug, Nimbug. You pretty much already know what I've tweeted out yesterday, but it was very hard to actually understand, and I said I will explain this in the rambling. But what I tweeted was, at this moment in time, as a YouTuber, I am broken beyond repair. And some said, well, what happened and why, and back and forth, we hope things will turn out good and so on. But I actually said this is maybe even for the better, because what I mean about the fact of being broken beyond repair actually does not mean actually something in a negative way. Because what I think I need, that is something that the channel needs, I think more so me, is a change of a mindset. And this has also to do something mostly with the way I'm going to at least try for a while, or maybe until something changes, is a little bit of a different behavior in my reviews. Because in the Note 8 review, it was for me noticeable, also in the Xiaomi Mi Air 13 review, so the last two reviews, I tried to approach videos from a less, not really less caring standpoint, but from a more casual standpoint, which is something that I said so many times I would do, but never really did, because every time I fall back into my old pattern, which I did there as well. But I noticed that on the Note 8 review and on the Xiaomi Mi Air 8 review, I was talking way more, and this is something that TechTablets.com saw, and he agreed with me, that it kind of lifts or kind of takes off the pressure that I put on myself trying to provide the same standards of my reviews that I did in the past. Because over the course of the last few years, I built up to a level of kind of professionalism, or at least a level that I thought was, for my level, good enough. So I had a high amount of details, I was kind of failure free for the biggest part, I delivered a lot of information in an objective way, but also a little bit subjectivity and all that. And I thought every time I try to make it more loose, which is something that I don't like so much, that I announce it every time. Because in every video over the last few weeks, maybe you've noticed that I say, oh, this could get a little bit shaky, this could get a little bit rough, so be prepared, it will be a little bit more fun, which it actually never really turned out, which is something that upsets me. But I think this will happen because, for example, in the Mi Air review, I said this is actually not gonna be a real review, even though, like I said, it will turn out to be one. I went into the review with a little bit of a more open, more, like I said, something lifted off my shoulders, pressure, and I was talking, in my opinion, way more natural to you, like I would talk to a person. I did cover pretty much the same things, but what I noticed in these reviews, in the last ones, that the reviews get a little bit longer, which is not something that I like so much. But I think actually, even though the reviews are longer, at least from my standpoint, they are easier to watch. Because, how should I put this? If I make this more condensed old school video, or that's actually not old school, the previous, almost current gen videos, where I cover, let's say, a video in 15 minutes, which is quite, for me, quite dense. And now, what would be the more lean, casual way, maybe even lazy in some way, would turn out to be 20 minutes, even though they have both the same amount of information. Due to the other one just being way more natural, way more casual, talking to you more normally in a just refreshed way, not so much being pressured from myself. At least to me, it feels like it's easier to watch, and those 5 extra minutes actually pass easier because you kind of sink in more, you enjoy it more. And for example, on the Note 8 review, someone made a comment, a 24-minute review that's insane, or that's stupid, that's silly, or something like that. I said no, because there are these more what I like to usually call like shallow reviewers, and they enjoy making 5 minutes reviews and 10 minutes reviews maybe. For me, that's not good enough. I think in 5 or 10 minutes I can't, at least not the way I want to, give you all the information. I would have to really narrow it down to extreme specifics, but I think this then would feel even more so forced to me, because I would have to always keep the time constraints and concern. Always, okay, I have this time. Okay, I have to keep that and that in mind, and so on. And I will actually do one thing real quick. I want to turn off the status bar so I don't see how long this video is going on, because I try to always keep them the same length, even though my different segments are of a different length. So if this video turns out an hour long as well, then now it will turn out an hour long, because it will, and not because I'm trying to see, okay, I'm at 40 minutes and I've covered already all topics. I kind of have to stretch it 20 minutes. This is something I don't want. So if this one turns out 20 minutes shorter or 20 minutes longer, then it's fine. But yeah, and to get back to this broken beyond repair, what I think is, I think I'm at a point at about almost 58,000 subscribers. Let me actually quickly check that. Oh, I actually crossed 58. So a little over 58,000 subscribers. I'm at a level where I think I've reached something, now I can't think of the term. So I reached a point, or I succeeded way more than I would have ever expected to be possible. Because if someone would have said 4 years ago that I will have almost 60,000 subscribers, I never would have thought it would be possible, not even 3 or 2 years ago. So I have this in mind. So I have reached a status where I'm super happy, where I know I got way more than I would have ever gotten. But there's also this thinking of, which is a good thing, some way actually, that I don't think I can reach much more. And this kind of took off a lot of pressure for me. And I also think that by now I don't really have to try to make videos flawless anymore, because I said this in the Mi Air review, I actually can feel like if I would do this video like this, and I should not announce it, I should just do it, and people either accept it or not, make more mistakes. If I completely mess up in the first seconds, then it just happens. I should not have to go through 10, 20 or 100 intro attempts. Yes, this is always just a minute, but I sometimes actually did already lose out full 2 hours just to get past the intro. Not really all that often anymore, but still at least like sometimes half an hour. This should not happen. If I just don't get the intro right, which sometimes actually happens extremely, so I really heavily mess it up, and then I try to redo it. But I should kind of set myself a limit, 5 takes, and if not, then you have to, but it's hard to get this past. And like I said, the moment in the last 2 reviews when I said I just don't consider it, and I don't really care about issues and so on, it actually worked out really nice, because like I said, the pressure was off, and without the pressure, I can actually talk way easier without any issues. And the thing is, though, I just have to kind of find a way not to tell you this up front, because why I do this is actually for the new people. Because after all, 90% of all views are from non-subscribers, and if someone checks the channel and he sees the video and I mess up in the first 30 seconds, you as subscribers, especially the ones that watch the ramblings, you don't care. You have accepted me the way, as faulty or not as I am. But if they see me messing up in the first 10 or 20 seconds, they think what a loser, what an amateurish channel, what a crook, what he doesn't get anything right. And then they turn off. And that's why I kind of always explain it for them to get easier into it or so, or I just try it over and over, so it doesn't happen, and then they are fine with that. But this is something that I'm just gonna stop, because like I said, views don't really matter, the growth doesn't really matter so much. And what I think is actually something that I think will happen, because I enjoy making this a little bit more open, more free, pressure off video way more. I've noticed the last two I enjoyed so much more, which I did already sometimes in the past if things worked out fine, if I had a good day. But the problem is for me, and I've said this already so many times, the amount of time that I can get a review done really depends on my daily motivation, or on my daily status. If I'm in a top condition, which doesn't have to mean I'm in a good mood or in a bad mood, but if I have in a good condition, sometimes I can talk just fine without any problems for 20 minutes, then I can get it done. But if that is not the case, I mess up too much, and this day will be visible now on video, I think so, because if it happens, it happens. And if I enjoy it still and can make up for it, because someone said to me, I should just make those videos this way, because he noticed that I feel way more lightweight of this burden, of this pressure. And it sounds way more natural, and it's actually easier to watch, and it translates over the screen. And people notice if I'm comfortable in front of the cam, if I'm happy with what I'm doing, if I'm happy with what I'm saying, they enjoy it way more as well. And that's why I think this 20-minute long, a little bit more rambling video, instead of the denser packed one, is maybe easier to watch. And you notice, I think, the best, because sometimes there is a movie that is boring and you watch it an hour and it feels like 3 hours, but then there are videos that are enticing, interesting, where you sink into them, where you watch 1 hour and it feels like you watch 10 minutes. And that's why I think a 20-minute video actually could feel shorter than a 50-minute video, even though the amount of information is the same. And this brings me back to the whole broken part. I think in me, there is a switch that flipped that kind of doesn't make me, and I don't want to say it doesn't make me care so much, but doesn't make me care so much about showing the flawed side of me. So if I mess up, you see it. And some like it, or some like it not, or some don't like it. But this actually maybe opens me even up a door to a new niche market, because I definitely am already a niche with being very subjective and so on. But I think what could happen is that the people that prefer my more professional objective side, that want no fun in videos, because if I maybe will in the future make some more jokes, which I would usually always do, but I kind of think, nah, it's a little bit sillier, so I don't do them. And those don't appreciate them, they will maybe turn off or maybe unsubscribe from the channel. But there's also a chance that maybe a part of the people who actually see this more loose style, more lean style, because after all, there are channels that are very loose. This kind of drunken reviews was a thing for a while. And who enjoy this kind of style, maybe will equalize out the people that left, and maybe give me actually a completely new niche market of people who enjoy these more. And maybe this one is even bigger, because this one is definitely not so saturated, because the professional attempts videos and the scripted ones, they are there. They are kind of dry videos, but very professional, very objective. Those are there. There are those very entertaining videos. Those are there. But I think there is a place for me maybe in this, though smaller market, but maybe therefore get a higher amount of people watching this, enticing ones that are, and I think this is actually the best part, because these are the people that are very loyal to the channel, that watch every video, that comment on every video, that are very into what I'm doing. And maybe in the long run, this gives me an opportunity to grow in a direction that I enjoy and that I'm fine with, even though the growth actually isn't really a thing anyways. So this is the broken beyond repair thing, because I think if you are used to the Damir that does the videos in the way that I did from, let's say, not last month, but from a month ago until the last 2 years, that one will slowly fade away, I think. So that one is broken. But the actual more me, the more casual me, the more I can talk to you one-to-one me, that is even more so subjective, that one is the new one. That one is, I think, more than ever me. So my opinion doesn't really change. That's burnt into my head. That's just what it is. but I think I can express myself. I can be even more so me than I ever was, because I will lose the professional part of myself, because like I said, this pressure will be taken off, because I think I've succeeded in a way where I think it's not necessary. I can do this because, like I said, I wanted to keep this status going on of being as failure free as possible for me and all that. And some people want that standard, and if that one's gone, they think, oh, he completely lost the motivation, he's gone completely lazy, I don't like this anymore. But it's actually not the case, because I think the lazier I get, or not lazy, but the more casual I get, the more I enjoy it, the more I will actually be motivated once again. And already talking about my opinion and so on, what a few people said about my rambling last time is that when I mentioned that I think about dropping the subjective part, I think it was pretty much anonymous from all the people they said. Of course, I expected this to happen from the people who watch the ramblings and who watch the reviews. As a very loyal subscriber said to me, don't do it. Please keep your subjective part. This is why we turn in. And yes, like I said, I expected this from these people because they put a lot of weight on my subjective opinion. They don't want to get this done because they said, if we want something boring, subjective, someone who just reads down the specs, we have enough of these. We want someone who's a little bit different, someone who approaches things from a different thing, who tells me more about his personal experience in using the devices. So subjective will stay, and with what I've explained of not going so much pro anymore, not trying so hard anymore, I think I will actually be even more subjective. But this is just something that people have to accept or not, because I will make it more obvious than ever that I am subjective. And I know a lot of people, especially on the German sides, don't like subjectivity, because subjectivity allows you for an option to disagree. Because if I, for example, say, in my opinion, this device is this and this, then they can say, okay, that's your own opinion, but I don't agree because you are wrong. And I don't like this, I don't like your subjective opinion, I want to know how this device is. But what I'm not going to do, though, is like many others, in my opinion, do, because after all, a review is always some subjective thing. I won't pretend to be objective, because there are so many other YouTubers that I know just say what they think in a way that sounds more like a fact, because they say this device is this and this and this, and pretty much the only thing that they didn't mention is they think, or in my opinion, or they just let it sound like a fact. And then there's not much of a discussion here, because then you say, okay, he said that and that, it sounds like he's like that's a thing, and like not he's thinking like this is the thing, which it is. And how can I actually get more in the middle? Yeah, like this. And this is what I'm not gonna do. So I will make it even more so obvious, and the people who want to at least be fooled into thinking, or thinking that it is objective, those won't be all that happy with what I'm thinking. But maybe, like I said, there are people that want just someone's opinion, and if they put some effort or some weight into mine, that could be the way. So, yeah, I'm very negative, I know. Now, I actually did not really think I would talk a lot about that in the German one, but actually turned out to be quite a big factor, because so many people, and of course everyone who watches the channel knows that I'm quite a negative guy, more of a pessimistic guy. I always see the bad stuff first, but this is for one reason, and I've said this already so many times. I rather prevent you from making a purchase that you will regret than trying to sell you something, because I see things the way I see it. I have to spend my hard-earned money on something, and if I'm not happy with something that is a thing, then I'm disappointed, and I don't want people, and I think therefore it kind of shows me that I'm doing a good job. I almost never got people who said, I bought something because of you and I regret it. Of course, always it happens, because I can't be right all the time, especially not because people have different preferences. But for example, if a phone has 10 great aspects, but it has one thing that in daily use you get annoyed by every time. If, for example, the phone just unlocks super slow or super unreliable, this is something that annoys you over time. And this is just something, these are things that I want to point out, because I know all the good stuff to appreciate. I know to appreciate it definitely. And this is something that will just become something that I get used to. Because if the screen is great, if it feels great in the hand, this is just something you get used to. And it will be fine. And it's something that doesn't really have to be pointed out every time. But for example, something that annoys you every time, I think, at least for me, something that bothers me about the phone or a device in general is something that is way more critical than the good stuff. Because good is good, and it doesn't really matter how good it actually is as long as it's not bad. And that's why I always emphasize, and that was always a personal thing of mine, onto the negative stuff. And the reason though is why so many people are upset of me doing this is just quite easy to explain. Many, actually way too many, which is kind of good for me, but still, viewers watch reviews after they've bought the device and they want a justification of their purchase. So they want to hear a lot of good news about it. Yeah, they want to hear a lot of good, and all the bad stuff that I point out is either things that they don't want to hear because they didn't see them, they don't want to kind of accept them, and then they get upset. Because usually if people disagree with me, it's just it's always, I have this, you are wrong, I like it. And it's not like I'm saying that it's not good or you shouldn't like it. Just because I think the fingerprint reader, for example, is messed up and you disagree, or the display calibration is off and you disagree with me, does not mean that I'm right. I'm saying that I think this display, but this kind of, for too many people, gets seen as the following. Oh, he's not happy with the display, he thinks it's something better because I'm happy with the display and he's telling me that he's not, which means that I'm either stupid not seeing it, or I have lower standards or so, and therefore he's wrong. This is not what I'm trying to do. Because I make my videos helping for people to decide what they should buy, and not to make them feel good after they have purchased it, because that's the wrong way. You should watch, and you should not watch these videos afterwards. Because why? Why would you do this? Why would you hurt yourself? Because I did this a while ago as well. If I bought something, I checked. But I personally never cared about if someone told me something bad, because if I buy something and someone afterwards tell me that it's bad and so on, I don't care, because I know all of these flaws, because that's the way I see devices anyways. But I have no problem accepting them if I bought it, because I then kind of was facing those issues. But if someone then tries to tell me this is bad, and I would say, no, it's not, no. Come on, let's just be real. Way too many people watch it afterwards. And this is just something, if you watch your video to feel good about your purchase afterwards, this is the wrong channel. This is the channel that you turn into if you think about the device, if you want all the information, and you want all the, I think, what I give, necessary information to make a purchase decision that you won't regret. And that's why my amount of comments of people telling me I'm wrong afterwards, if they bought it, are there. Because I did not really often get something who said, oh, you hyped up the device and I'm not happy with it. Of course, sometimes it happens with, for example, some specific things that I just found cool. Because there are things that I just weigh in different. Someone sees something good as bad and someone as good as bad. I guess you get what I mean. So, the next topic, how much does preparation for reviews matter? Like the summary. Now, this once again is like the thing, don't care too much, just do it or don't do it, you know what is best. But I still want to get your feedback, because preparation is a thing that takes up a lot of my time, and this is just something that I don't want to do, because in the whole process of trying to explain you this being broken thing, I've just noticed that I want to spend as little time as possible to get videos done. But I mean the videos. The review process is the same and everything else will be the same. Just the presentation will be even more so kind of old school, more raw again, because I would like to try to get away with the little editing that I do, because I don't do much. Because every review for me looks like this. Specs, of course the timeline itself, then the charging and so on, for example charge times and so on. This will stay, because this is notes that I just need for myself and it's easy to put these on. But for example specs, I always have to write them down somewhere, get a source where I can get them. Sometimes I get them even wrong, and a lot of people actually then try to correct, or they don't try to, they correct me on that, which is for me a little bit annoying, because yeah, it's possible for me to mess up, especially if I cover so many devices and I don't really want to spend, because that's for me a chore. I don't like to spend an hour a week or 2 or 3 hours on writing just down the specs. That's boring stuff. And I would actually say that all of the subscribers here, all the tech geeks, you know, if I have the Xiaomi Mi 6 here or the Note 8, you know the specs. Some of you even better than me, because I don't really care about the specs once I have it in hand. And so I think about actually dropping that. I personally don't want to, but it would maybe save me up a little bit time, because it's just something that I don't enjoy doing anyways, because it's just something that doesn't give me much. But for some people, especially all the new viewers that are not subscribed, for them it's a help, and I definitely know to appreciate it, especially since I don't have to cover those things then, because people then say, oh, what's the CPU? Because this is actually the reason why I introduced that, because so many times, because I never really talked about that when I talk about performance and so on, and people couldn't really judge. If I have a phone that's maybe not so known, and they couldn't judge, is this a flagship, is this a mid-range phone, where should I put it in? I just therefore made the specifications, because then you can see them, and then you can, on that base, if it's a lower end phone, you see the price and so on. So even though I don't like to do, I think I will have to keep it going, but I will maybe also try it for just a while to see if it comes with a negative impact. If people will say, why don't you do this anymore? Because I don't think it will have a positive impact. Dropping something that was at least always helpful is not something that will get positive, but I have to see about that. But it's actually more about the summary for me, which was previously the pros and cons, because I have to write them down. And in some way, it's a little bit more of something more decisive, because there I give, for example, all the ratings, and I also display my rating scale by now for the last few videos. And you definitely see the rating scale, you see graphic, you see display, see sound, and you see all that rated down with some extra notes. So it's definitely a little bit more decisive. What I think, actually doing it out of my head, so without writing it down first, it comes down a little bit more natural. But I also noticed that I just miss out on a few things, because what I miss there is often the extra notes, just because I can't always keep up of everything. Because, for example, on the Note 8 review, I said I completely dodged that, because I did talk about all the stuff and I gave my ratings, but I forgot the extra notes where I wanted to mention, after all, something like IP rating, and also that the fingerprint reader is placed a little bit weirdly, or that, what was it, that the always on display is something that I really enjoy, or such things. And this is kind of dropping. So these could be things that if I drop them will have a negative impact, and I actually don't want to drop them myself, but it would save me up so much time, because even something like the time codes are very time demanding, because I have to watch the whole video. Usually I watch it in ×2, but then I have to find the points where the section starts and so on, but it takes up time. What I would really love to do is just get up, because I know all the things that I need to, and just talk about it, and then get into the video, get into Adobe Premiere, cut off the front part before I start talking, and cut off the end before I stop. Oh, no, not before I stop talking. When I stop talking, and this should be it. No extra edits and so on, because you know how bare bones I am. I never really make much transitions. I don't do anything of that anymore, because it's not something that actually improves a video for me. Okay, I know someone, especially someone like Snazzy from Snazzy Labs, would definitely disagree, because he said he made a 5-minute video and it definitely needs B-roll and so on, because who wants to watch his face for 5 minutes? For me, that doesn't bother me. If I actually have no problems at all watching someone for like 5 or 10 minutes or longer, if he gives me information. And if I see some stuff extra, it's maybe a nice little bonus, but it's not something, if it's not there, degrades the review for me, because for me at the end, it's the information. And I definitely know that I will get very upset in this video, because I'm absolutely not in the middle. I should have stated something more like this. And I know this will bother me so much when I will watch this later on, but I don't know. It doesn't feel actually like I sent that this way. But yeah. So did I cover that topic? Yeah, so how much does it matter to you? Because like I said, this is not, oh, you think too much about it, just do it or don't do it. I would just like to know what you think of it. Okay, now the next point is actually a little bit something tech for once. My opinion on the Mate 10. First of all, the Mate 10 Lite. That actually, was it really even announced? Because I just know about it. I did order it, didn't get shipped yet, because it will take about a week at least. But it's very similar to the Honor 7X, but I have to actually say I'm not quite so sure, because this phone is not a Mate phone. This is a Nova. This is pretty much a stretched 2x1 Nova 2. So if you want to either see it as a bigger Nova 2 or a just different spec or different aspect ratio. Nova 2 Plus, I think, doesn't really matter because the internals are the same. Same SoC, the resolution, of course, Full HD Plus instead of Full HD. Camera, I guess, will pretty much be the same. I don't think they will actually make much changes. I will have to see about it later on. Battery will be quite similar because bigger screen, but therefore a little bit bigger battery. Sound will be pretty much the same. So I don't expect too much of an surprise here, but I wanted to try it after all because I want to know what it actually offers, because now for $350, at least in Germany, for the 6-inch version, this actually doesn't have to have a bad value, especially for a new 2x1 phone. So it feels actually better in terms of value than the Nova 2 did, which costed, I think, also $350 or even $400. I'm not quite so sure about that. Doesn't really matter. Now, Mate 10 and Mate 10 Pro. Here's the thing. I asked Training Shenzhen if he will get a review unit for me for the Mate 10 because it won't be available in Europe. And he said, is it really worth it? Because who will get it? It's like a $100 cheaper, but it doesn't really offer anything that would be enticing because, yes, the resolution is a little bit high, but that's pretty much it. But I can't actually disagree with him because I explained what I see as the appeal of this phone, especially for all the Mate 9 users. First of all, it has an SD card, which the Pro doesn't. It has a headphone jack, which the Pro doesn't, even though that doesn't really matter so much because the headphone jacks of Huawei devices never are any good, just about average. But you get the higher resolution and you get the proper phablet. You get a 5.9-inch display with QHD, which definitely will look better, definitely, than the display on the Pro. And it's way bigger in terms of surface area because, sure, 6 inches on 2x1 sounds bigger than the 5.9 inches on the Pro, but 6x9 and so on. This is more like comparing a 5.9 incher with about a 5.5 incher. So the Mate 10, the regular Mate 10, is the real successor. And that's why actually at first, and I have to admit I was wrong, before I knew the phone, I said, why is the Pro not called the Mate 10 and the lower one called something less? So not maybe light because it's too heavy, but still. But now I have to agree now that I know, because the Mate 10 is the real successor to the Mate 9. It bumps up everything. Display resolution now finally, the battery life should still be good if the 970 is as efficient as they say and so on. And this is the phone that the people who own the Mate 8 or Mate 9 want to have, not the Pro. I don't think if you really enjoyed the Mate 9 for what it was, the big phablet, you will want to skip to want to switch to the Mate 10 Pro, because this is a noticeably smaller phone. You lose out on some things, especially something like the resolution, because 1080p plus or Full HD plus resolution, but OLED. And for many people, that's already not a flagship. And I didn't bother at all about the Full HD resolution on the Mate 9 because it was so high quality. And I had a little bit of a discussion where I just thought that the other side was just stupid because he said to me, yeah, nice screen, but it's not a flagship. And I totally disagreed. I said the quality of the Mate 9 display was so good that it actually trumped, because the quality after all is better than the resolution itself, trumps many Quad HD displays in the same kind of density rule, because it's just so good in terms of quality. And I see it, no, I see pixels, which is still a silly thing to say because this display was superb. And now getting to Full HD Plus with OLED on a 5.9 incher will be even more so a non-flagship level for many. I think it will be a very nice level. I mean, display. I have to see it, of course, first. Not quite sure when I will get it, but then I will judge. I don't want to judge it any earlier. I think it won't be an impressive display because just 1080p plus on 6 inches by 2x1, which is a 5.5 incher, is just not nearly as clear as Quad HD. And by now I have to say Quad HD displays became so power efficient with processors being so powerful that you don't see a difference here, that I by now actually don't want to go below Quad HD. So it's a little bit of a bummer, but the rest definitely sounds great, and I definitely hope to get my hands on it as quick as possible. Okay, the next two topics are about online shops and how I get my devices and so on. And the topic is actually called The Extreme Importance of Cyberport, which I totally wrote wrong, and burning bridges with press agencies. What I mean by that is the following, that just for example, as you've seen, I was a little bit salty that I didn't get an invite to the Huawei Mate 10 event, and from other brands like LG, I don't get any responses anymore. But I can get all of these devices through Cyberport, which is the online shop where I get a lot, at least in the past, of my review units, which was also the biggest reason, or the one thing why this channel is what it is right now. Because without the recent high quality devices that I got way earlier, also expensive devices which I would have otherwise have no access to, this channel got its subscribers, because people now know he gets quite recent devices, quite a nice variety, a lot of brands and so on. And without the online shops and just having to rely on press agencies wouldn't work. And burning bridges just means that I just don't have to rely on those waiting for example, I think if I would wait for Huawei to give me the Huawei Mate 10 Pro, I would have to wait like 3 months after release, where it doesn't matter anymore. So this channel would drastically be low in terms of views, because all the geeks don't care about a channel who reviews every phone like 3 months later. And that's why I have the luxury of being able to ditch some brands, especially to the ones that I know I can get on a regular pattern earlier, just when it's released. I can't get them beforehand because I don't have that access through the press agencies, because that's what they are good for, if you want early access to devices, which is something that I never got. And since I never got it, I'm okay with not getting them anyways. So that's that. But I also don't have to kind of feel like I have to try too hard, because it's annoying if I didn't. And I think by now I reached the status, even though I'm still small, even in Germany, I'm not a big YouTuber, but I think I've reached the status, and working with those press agencies for multiple years now, I think I would have earned a little bit of a different status to be able to get a review device a little bit earlier than I'm doing right now. Because I'm reviewing Huawei devices for about 3 years already, starting with the Mate 8, 9, 10 now, and even a little bit earlier before. And I actually lost in credibility and respect from them because I was too negative on some reviews, which is something that I'm rather doing and lose respect, because if I'm gonna say I don't want to have to do with you anymore because you can get me, you can't, or you won't, you don't want to give me early access and I can get it from Cyberport, that's the thing. But this importance actually comes with one thing, and I said this already a few times. My first contact, I had the limit of about 800 euros and only one device, and I had to first return it to get something new. Then I got a second contact, and I thought, oh, maybe they give me stricter limitations and so on. But actually, that second, and huge thanks to Sarah for that, I got pretty much no restrictions. And I said as always, I'm completely free on what I review, the amount of what I review, and I could get way more than I could actually get my hands on. Because sometimes for example, I ordered 3 laptops, each at around 1,500 euros, and 2 phones, and so it was well over 5,000 or 6,000 euros sometimes that I had at one point. And that was amazing, because I was so happy that I got access to way more than I could possibly review, and that was just what made the channel what it is, because I could review recent high-end devices in a nice variety. But I always feared the time when this would change, which might have happened now, because I got a third, so this new contact now, and every time I get someone new, I think maybe now the restrictions will come, because so many times I said this already, I'm actually wondering myself what they get of that, because I don't think I actually sell through these links so much that it makes up for that what I'm what I'm kind of costing them for getting all those review units or loaners. And this kind of thing happened now, I think, because, okay, I was maybe a little bit greedy, because what I requested was the Mate 10 Lite, which I think I will get quite easy. But I also requested 3 headphones, which on its own doesn't sound too bad if you wouldn't know what they are, because 3 Odyssey headphones. One cost about 450 euros and the other 2 about 850 euros. And that's expensive. And this time, for the first time ever, they said, okay, we have to kind of wait for Cyberport to get back if we can loan them to you. And the thing is just that I don't know if this will become a regular pattern, that I have to kind of think of what I'm getting, not getting too much so much, and I have to wait for them to get back to me if that's cleared or not, or if it is just because it was a high amount of high-end devices that they don't really get many views from my side. Because if someone would check the statistics My headphone reviews don't get many views, sometimes as low as 300 views, which is something that I can easily get with every live stream or even every rambling like this, which is already the part which doesn't get many views. But like 300 views, maybe up to 1 to 3,000 views, and like the Sony headphone reviews get like 10,000 sometimes. But maybe then they just say, if they check the analytics and say, he doesn't really get many views on headphone reviews, so maybe that's something where we shouldn't give him more. But all these laptop reviews or smartphone reviews, they are well, and this doesn't get affected. So that's more important. As long as I can get all the phones and maybe laptops and so on, this is still safe. But I would still like to keep this, because actually Cyberport was one source where I could get the devices where I have no other access to, like for example specific maybe headphones or keyboards and so on. And I hope it won't happen that it comes a regular thing that they have to clear every time. So if I don't get too much, because I don't want to get too much anymore, because I regularly for a while had always like 5 devices from them, which was way too much for me anyways. Now with having even more so access from GearBest and so on, this is also not necessary, which actually leads me to the next point, because that's the importance of online shops for my channel, because this kind of has something to do with that, because I always was in the fortunate position to get pretty much all my review units for free. Well, it was for free, loaners, of course, because let's start off with the first one. That I got Cyberport. I got all the devices, all the phones easily. I can keep them for a month, then return them. I can make all my reviews and so on, and that's fine. And that is very important, because otherwise there would be no content. Because just based off of press agencies, there would be like at least 50% less content, I think. Then I got the second shop, which was Trading Shenzhen, which was kind of the gateway for me to get into Chinese phones, because I reviewed Xiaomi phones and maybe some other brands and so on. Mostly Xiaomi for some reason, because they're the most popular ones and the best Chinese phones. So that was also very important, because therefore I got a lot of new subscribers that were more, because this is a big market after all, but also quite a crowded market, of course, as well. Chinese phones, but not quite so crowded as the big devices, the public mainstream devices, but still. Then there was cect-shop, also pretty much like Trading Shenzhen, gave me the way into the Chinese phones. And then there is also GearBest, and I'm always completely open about that, and I will have to explain a few things when it comes to how I kind of make up for the lack of revenue that I make for YouTube. And GearBest has a big part of that to do with that, because GearBest is the only shop where I can actually keep the review units that I get. If I get a review device, I can keep it. And I have to explain this, even though I did already in a video before, it works like this. I have a review budget, which means if I use the links and people buy some stuff through that, I get 30% of the budget for the reviews for that. So if someone buys something for $1,000, I get about $300 to buy a review unit from that. So I don't really get money, but if I, for example, get a $300 device, I can then sell that after the review, because I don't need all of them. Because I definitely don't need 6 laptops like I have at the moment from them, even though quite cheap ones as well. And I don't need 6-7 phones, especially if they are no good. So that's why I would sell them, even though I actually have not really sold anything. I still have most of the things. I have still like 4 phones. I still have like these 6 laptops that I mentioned. And I just don't really get the time to sell them, which is something that I definitely have to do. Because with this way, I can get some money back. Of course, I sell them for way less than they are worth, maybe like 60%, because I don't have a receipt and so on. But if I get something for 300 and I sell it for 150, I made 150 bucks. And with no video, I make that much money. So I actually make way more money, which kind of helps the channel, because I don't do Patreon, I don't do sponsored videos, I don't do ads, and at some point I have to somewhere get the money if I want to keep this thing going. And like I said, I already don't spend money on review units, so why would you would say, why would you even need money then? There are still things that cost money that I have to spend money on. For example, the internet, okay, I paid it anyways, but the lighting, the camera, the PC that I built, these are things that have to be spent at some point. And That's where I get that money from if I want to upgrade at some point. It's not really ever like I made the revenue and actually bought something, because I never really bought anything off of YouTube money. I always pretty much at some point spend it back to the channel. And for the last few weeks, months and so on, I made a little bit more revenue than the years before, because of course I gain in that. But there will be a next big purchase, which will be the last topic for today, that will make me spend a lot of that again. And then you kind of see somewhere I need to get money, because otherwise it's a hobby, of course, but a hobby that costs me more money that it just makes sense to actually spend. But this is where GearBest is important for. Because of course, I started off with this in the German one, but I have to make one thing sure. The biggest first important factor of working together with one of these shops is complete neutrality on my side, because if they would at some point tell me what I should review or what I should say, I would say, nope, sorry, let's just break this off, or you either don't do this anymore. But it never happened so far. Okay, GearBest sometimes just suggests me a few devices that are just came in stock, and if I want to review them, but they never told me you should review this or you shouldn't review this or what I should say. Because at the end, all they care about is the revenue that they make through the links and so on. So if I make money through them, they kind of actually don't care how I make the money. At least that's the way I see it. And the camera is dead. Wait just a second. Oh, it happened again. It happened again. I completely forgot how long this take is. So please stay with me. I just did not expect the first video to be that long. Man, I so hate when this happens. I so hate it. And I should have by now already found a solution to use the cam without any battery restrictions. But I never did. Wait, we are almost there. And I am back. Okay, so let me quickly charge this battery again and focus the cam. Okay, so yeah, it wouldn't be a rambling without a fail. Okay, so yeah, and if that would have been the case, I would have just stopped doing that, because my integrity is still the most important part for me. So yeah, no one ever said something, no one ever. So yeah. Okay, so let's get into the next thing, my new PC build. I've already teased it a few times, but I think now it's official, because I did already order my first part, the Threadripper 1950X. I actually planned to go with the 1920X, but it was on sale right today on a daily deal, and I paid like $120 more than the 1920 would cost. And I think if I pay already multiple thousands of dollars, then that won't kill me, and I have the highest end model and so on, so why not? It will be very expensive, and the problem is, that's where I'm a little bit salty. I did not get any sponsors, and I feel a little bit hurt about it, because I know channels that are so much smaller than mine that got stuff sponsored, and I didn't manage anything. I didn't get a power supply, not the RAM, nothing. But this quickly leads me back to GearBest, because what I've by accident kind of noticed last time, they actually have NVIDIA cards, which I knew, but they have a 1080 Ti. There are actually since today a few more, and they range from about $1,200 to $900. And I kind of managed to agree my contact to actually, from the review budget that I have, to order me one. What he said at first though is, I think we should review something different, because this is something that doesn't really sell well. Go for more something common. And I said, yes, I totally get that, but you would do me such a huge favor if you get me something, because this would help my build so much. Because I definitely won't spend $800-900 for a 1080, because if I don't get one for free, I will just keep my 1070 even in the Threadripper build, even though that's really unbalanced. But I just can't spend, not with the rest being already, with RAM prices being so high and so on. But I did manage to kind of agree him to that, but the problem is that the card wasn't available. And I said, if you really do, because you can't order it if it's not available. It's actually just switching, because the first date that it said was 24th of October, which by the way is my birthday. Then it switched to the 26th, which by the way is the birthday of my dad. Yeah, 2 days between. And by now it's already October 27th. So I kind of have to get to that point where it comes available, because even the 1080s would have been not available yet. They seem to be a little bit early available maybe, but if I can get my hands on a 1080 Ti, that would be just amazing. And I said to him, if you do me that favor and order this, of course I will mention you as a sponsor, which of course they are, and they definitely deserve that, and I would mention you. But what I would also do is maybe then, to kind of make up for that review budget that is lost, I would also review a few things that I don't want to review, maybe to kind of get that back, because something, and actually a few people would benefit from that, something like the Xiaomi Mi A1. People asked me to review it, but I said no, because I already reviewed the Mi 5X, which is pretty much the same phone, just without stock Android. But I said to him, I will review that. That should maybe get you some sales through that, and you would really do me a huge favor, and it would help the build so much to give me a proper high-end PC. So I just hope that it won't get even further delayed in terms of shipping dates. So if I somehow get it by at some point in November, it will be done. Because what I'm also planning for the PC is, of course, the Threadripper, then 32 gigs of RAM, which is not cheap because RAM prices have raised so much. Then I need a power supply, I need a board, and all of these things won't be cheap, and I have to spend all of that money. And therefore, like I said also previously, the things that I sell from GearBest, or the little money that I get, because what I also get is some revenue of the affiliate links, which after 6 or 8 months or so by now is come down to about $1,000, maybe $1,200, which is money that I made. But it's pretty similar, like to, for example, affiliate links from Amazon. So it's not something else. Just the link. I don't get. Yeah, I get a little bit of revenue from if you buy something through the link. It doesn't cost you any extra and so on. So it's the same. And that is legit in my opinion. But yeah, what else? Yeah, so the PC build will be big. But since I actually never planned to make the live stream in English to build it, because I hope to get German sponsors. Then of course I would have had to make the video in German, but since I actually don't think I will make a live build, just for the reason that I'm a little bit salty. I get no sponsors, and why should I present any parts that I had to pay out on my own? I know it's silly, it's a stupid thinking, but still I'm salty, because I won't do any brand a favor. So I will make a video where I will mention all the parts, why I bought which and so on, but I definitely won't mention the brands specifically, because why? You will see them anyway, so it's not something that I can hide. I won't just say I bought a 1080 Ti, or I bought a board. I bought a board from a brand, after all. So yeah, that's pretty much already it. And now, just because I'm curious, I want to know how long this video is going on. It is going on for... No, I don't see this here. And I'm talking to myself, actually. For how long already? I would like to know. Oh, wow. I never started. Wow. But it says it's recording. No, it actually is still streaming. Oh, wow. That would have been a disaster. Oh no, yeah, the video is running 58 minutes. I just thought I didn't really record even. But it was the streaming that says it's not starting. So the recording is on. Oh man, I was shocked, because I definitely wouldn't have made this once again. Because this would have meant I talked 58 minutes before that. But actually this shows me that I did talk about pretty much the same things, which is something that I did not expect. Cool. So pretty much the same length, so you got pretty much the same information, but the build is going on. I'm not quite sure when it will be happening or something like that, but otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's longer than I expected. I did not think it would be that long. Okay, after the German one I knew, because that one was already an hour long. But I had a lot of topics, once again, not really tech related all that much. But yeah, they never were. Otherwise, if you like it, you know what to do. And I don't really have anything else to say, even if I think about it. I covered all. Like I said, yeah, channel will go through a few changes, especially since I also want to shift the content a little bit more towards audio and so on. But I think it will be for the better. I think it will be for the better, especially since I will be more loose, and I think this will show. I think this will. I don't know. We will see. I guess the next few reviews will be very interesting for myself. Okay, until next time. Bye. And now I have to stop, and I'm so happy it did work. Okay.